When you see the whole world shaking and you feel your heart is breaking, take my hand, no hesitating. When you're just so tired of trying, all alone you feel like hiding. Together we'll keep fighting. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains to how we can climb it. Feelings will take in the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Can you see the sun is shining like a new hope? Feel it rising, coming over the horizon. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains to how we can climb it. Feelings will take in the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. There's no stopping.
Good evening. Well, actually, it's not evening. It's about 1:45. I'm doing this now because I'm going out later on this afternoon or evening, so I can't do it live at 7. But this will go on live at 7, okay? It's Labor Day weekend. It's the last big weekend of summer. Hope you're out barbecuing and being with family, going, but watching my podcast. I'm hoping you're doing that as well. But I'm hoping you're having a good and safe time. I'm Chris Gargiulo, and I am an associate broker and licensed realty specialist for Realty Connect, where I could help you find a home within all 50 states of the United States of America. And if you want to list a home, I could help you with that as well. Okay? I would do the setup, the consultation. You just go to my website and you put in your information. I'll put that up later. And you just, you would be put in contact, or 3 top producers in that area will contact you. Go with the one you feel most comfortable with. And then you buy your home or you list your home. And there's no additional fee for this, okay? You're going through me. You're not paying me $1,000. You're not paying me, $500. You're not paying nothing, okay? So that's the good thing about it. So since I already gave you that introduction, let me do my little intro on that about what I do. Okay, so I hope that gives you an idea, in a nutshell, what I do. And I always loved marketing, so that's basically what I'm concentrating now. I'm learning more. I mean, you always think you know everything about social media marketing, and you're at this pinnacle point, but then it gets like even more advanced. It changes every day, and it helps me keep young, so I stay on top of this stuff, and it's a good thing. Okay. Um, we have a very good question today, and today's going to be more like almost like a lesson in economics. So don't get bored. I mean, but let me have Cooper from Picosin give the first question.
Hello, Mr. G, and thanks for allowing me on your video podcast. Even though there are signs that inflation is decreasing, how does inflation affect the housing market? Using all your wisdom and knowledge, please advise me on this issue. Thanks so much, and I look forward to your expert reply. My family and I watch your video podcasts every week.
Thank you, Cooper. That's very nice of you to say all that. Okay, so the reports came out this week too that seems like inflation is being pulled back. It's not at the point that we would like it to be. I still see, as I said on earlier podcast, I do most of the food shopping in our family, and because I like to be adventurous and buy new items, especially items. And when my wife goes, it's like all the store brand names and so forth. But I'm really still seeing, especially when it comes to cereal. Cereal is still so expensive. All right, and cakes and eggs kind of leveled out, and kind of bacon leveled out. I think so. I mean, I'm used to paying $3.99 a pound for bacon. Was like that for the last 5 or 6 years, but now it seems like the midpoint is $4.99. But it went up higher during the pandemic, so that came down a bit. But there's still certain items out there that are still pretty expensive, and it'd be nice if we could get that under control. Um, and that's the next step. So it's hard to say that inflation across the board has gone down. There's pockets of it going down, but some of it is still up there. But the question today is how does this inflation affect the housing market? So it's a very good topic, and let's bring up our handy dandy. I could get rid of my caption now. And let's see if I can make this a touch bigger on the screen here. I have two screens operating, so okay, good. So how inflation affects the housing market? So it is connected. Whenever there's a change to one, both are affected. And here is a high-level overview of the connection between the two. So the relationship between housing inflation and overall inflation. Shelter inflation, meaning houses, right? That's your shelter, is the measure of price growth specific to housing. It comes from a survey of renters and homeowners that's done by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, or BLS. The survey asks renters how much they're paying in rent and homeowners how much they'd rent their homes for if they weren't living in them. Much like overall inflation, the measure of cost of everyday items, shelter inflation measures the cost of housing. And for 4 consecutive months, based on that survey, shelter inflation has been coming down. And let's move to that graph below. So we see here, and if you look at the bottom here, it's using approximately about well, I would say it says here from 1954 to 2021, the average is 4.1. But as we see, as we get into, yeah, it is showing the years here. So this goes back to January of 2017, okay? And this is like before the pandemic. And during the pandemic, we see we're going from the, this is where right now then there are shortages of both for sale homes and for rental homes, and now we see the prices shoot up. And as of, this is around April of 23, we see them reach 8.2, but then it drops to on July 23rd. I'm sorry, not July, but July of 2023 to 7.7. So we see a small dip in housing inflation. It's still pretty high, no matter what. Okay, you know, you're saying, oh, okay, went down about 0.5%, but look at the big increases that it made within the last year or two. So let me move down here, my graph. Why does this matter? Well, shelter inflation makes up about 1/3 of overall inflation as measured by the Consumer Price Index. So, when shelter inflation moves, it leads to noticeable moves in overall inflation. That means the recent dip in shelter inflation might be a sign, okay? Might be a sign that overall inflation could fall in the months ahead. But don't get too excited about that. I mean, I didn't write this article, and I think I lost my highlighter. Let's see. Though this was on my blog. All right. So we see a little trend of the rentals going down. Does that mean it will continue to go down? There's a lot of factors that play to this, and it's hard to pinpoint it. Okay. That moderation would be a welcome sight for the Federal Reserve. They've been working to get inflation under control since early 2022. While they made some headway, it peaked at 8.9% in the middle of last year. They're still trying to get to their 2% goal. The latest report is 3.3%. So now we're going to talk about inflation and the federal fund rate. Well, the federal fund rate is the interest rate that influences how much it costs banks to borrow money. And they either borrow money between each other or they go to the Federal Reserve. When inflation climbed, the Fed responded by raising the federal funds rate to keep the economy from overheating. So this graph below shows the relationship between the two. Each time inflation, which is shown in the blue, started to climb, the Fed raises the federal funds rate, that's shown in the orange, to try to get back to their target of 2%. All right? So this goes back here, and let me highlight it. This goes back to 1980. This is when I remember that because Jimmy Carter was in office. And then Ronald Reagan came in 81. I was working for Merrill Lynch, and I remember interest rates being up around 17, maybe up to 21%. So when you work for CMA, we were able to have a CMA account, but it was based upon that high interest rate. You were actually making good money if you saved your money, all right, in the bank. Um, and thankfully, being an employee of Merrill Lynch, you could just go with 500. If you were an employee, you would have to put 1,000 in or even higher. Okay. When I worked at Merrill Lynch, I just came straight out of high school. I mean, not high school, out of college. So, but we see it go down, and then between 20 and 22, we see inflation shoot up a lot, right? And then the Fed funds rate go up and try to help bring down the inflation rate. Okay. So as inflation gets closer to the Fed's current 2% goal, they may not need to raise the federal funds rate much further. Now, as I've said before, and actually it states it here in the yellow. So what does all of this mean for you? While the actions coming out of the Fed don't determine mortgage rates, they do have an impact. As the Mortgage Professional America, MPA, explains, mortgage rates are inflation are connected, however indirectly. When inflation rises, mortgages rise to keep up with the value of the US dollar. When inflation drops, mortgage rates follow suit. And the Fed funds rate, remember, if the Federal Reserve raise the federal funds rate, it doesn't automatically raise the mortgage rates. It's sort of like an offshoot, or it's indirectly connected. Okay, it's a little bit more involved with that. So while no one else can predict the future of mortgage rates, it's encouraging to see the signs of moderating inflation in the economy. But it's happening now. We're looking at maybe about 4 months of inflation going down. I know it stopped going down probably 3, maybe 4 months ago. And it's doing it. Hopefully it continues that way. I think it's too early really to say for sure. I mean, even in this article that's on my blog, well, no one can predict the future for mortgage rates. It's encouraging to see the signs of moderating inflation in the economy. And hopefully that's true. Okay. Okie doke. Let's close this out and make myself nice and big again. So let's then watch this little video. And this video is actually pretty good news. It talks about how builders are now building homes that are more affordable. And that's the biggest complaint I always had with developers. They would always say luxury homes, and I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, and that's when a lot of gentrification came about. And everything they start building or renovating that were old apartments, everything was luxury homes. And not everybody has a luxury job to pay for it. I'm thinking quickly about Henry Ford. Originally cars were made for the very rich. And Henry Ford said we could actually make more money by mass producing them and lowering the price of cars. Or even though we're lowering the price of cars, we could reach more people who could afford them to buy. So we're not actually decreasing revenue by cutting prices. We're increasing revenue by increasing volume of sales. Okay? And I think it's important to build affordable housing. It doesn't have to be cheap or whatever. There's this middle grade updates you could put in that you can put in the house. It doesn't have to be high grade, and it could still look nice and be sweet and wonderful. Okay, so let's show that video right now. Okay, so that's some good news out there, and they're responding to what's going on in the regular resale market. That home prices pretty high, along with high interest rates that are floating around 7%. Okay, all right. So remember, and this will change soon. On my blog, you can download it's still at this point the summer buying guides as well as the summer selling guides, and you can read them, and it's for free. And but probably in about 2 weeks, as we get into September, well, we are in September, that will change, and it'll become the fall of 2023 buying and selling guides. And I'm actually going on vacation for 2 weeks to merry old England. I'm bringing my laptop. I will try to upload those. Well, I will do that. But I'll talk more about that in a second. But I hear we might have a very special guest in the audience. Isabella, my producer.
Mr. G, great news. We have a celebrity in the audience. Born in a small village in Moscow, Russia, Nushka Babushka taught herself to dance since there was no other entertainment in the area, as well as no radios or phonographs. As she became more known for her exotic moves, Nushka took a boat trip to America and lived in a small studio apartment in Brighton Beach, Brooklyn. Nushka would perform on the boardwalk as passerbys would throw her money and overripe fruit. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Nushka Babushka.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Nushka Kabushka. Thank you for stopping by in the audience. So that's our show for this week. I'm going away for 2 weeks. I might do a little video or a couple of videos or talking about England and how it is there. I might do that. I can't promise I'll do within the next 2 weeks a podcast. I'll do repeats, all right, and just to keep it going. But I'm not so sure they'll be brand new. It depends on. I'm visiting my sister and her husband and I'm going with my wife, and she's planned a lot for us. So I'm not sure. Okay, but I'll be in contact. I'll do some videos there. Okay. And you see down there, that's where you could download my those materials, the summer guides. Also, you could go to my website, and I show both of you. You could do real estate with mrg.us, or you go to realtyconnect.com/Christopher-Gargiulo. Now, the reason why I show both, because I've noticed when I put the above URL address in the social media post, it doesn't work. But it works like if you type it in your URL address. But if you have difficulty with the top, you could do the second one. And you put in information, and you'll be presented with 3 top agents in the area that you're looking either to buy or to sell. And they will treat you like gold. And you could always contact me. And you're getting like 2 for the price of 1. All right, and we could consult. But it's a pretty good service. Okay, all right. So I think I covered everything. I actually did pretty good. I'm under 30 minutes. I usually go a little bit over, and I feel like I missed out on something. But anyway, just remember. Let me get up my outro. Remember, and it's Labor Day weekend again. Be safe, safe travels. Be kind to each other, and remember, the greatest power we have is love, and the greatest gift, each other. And I'll see you really soon.